Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to be talking about what is probably the most hyped Uma since the launch of the game, and that is Maruzensky. You've probably already heard quite a bit about her from me as well as other content creators, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at her and see what makes her such a good frontrunner, especially for a little bit. But we're also going to take a balanced approach at looking at her, and I'm going to talk about a lot of the negatives to try and help relieve the pressure that you may feel like having to pull for her, because she is absolutely not a must pull in any capacity, and especially for my free-to-plays that maybe only have enough to pull on either her or Rico to a pity, this may help you when it comes to deciding if you want to skip for her, because there is a lot of drawbacks when it comes to pulling for her, especially if you're going to be playing this game long term. So we'll be looking at a lot of options you'll have in the future as well. But with that, let's just go ahead and get right into her and see what makes her so great first. Alright, while editing, I realized I completely forgot to mention the other Uma that's on this banner as well, and that is Special Week, so I thought I'd just make a quick cut here to just mention one of the other positives about her banner before we get into her kit, is that she also has an increased 0.75% rate up chance on this banner. So Special Week, I will be making a dedicated video to kind of go over her as well, but she is going to be another Uma that's not going to be a meta pick, but she's going to be very good herself and very usable with her kit. But yeah, I just thought I'd go ahead and mention that as well. That is one bonus of pulling on this banner, is you have the opportunity to go not only for Summer Maruzensky, but Special Week as well. So if, for example, you do 150 pulls and then Summer Maruzensky drops for you finally, and you haven't gotten Summer Special Week, you can now do that additional 50 pulls to pity Special Week rather than Summer Maruzensky. So it might give you an opportunity. If it takes quite a few pulls to get one or the other, you can just pity the other, and so you can get two Umas out of this banner. But with that, let's go ahead and get into Summer Maruzensky. So the first thing is right off the bat, great stat bonuses, speed and wit 15%, both very important for your front runners. I think the only thing I'd say I maybe would prefer would be 15% in power over speed, which means then you can use your more speed cards and then your power would just naturally be higher. But overall, really good spot for them. No negatives really there at all. When it comes to the aptitudes, just like the original, can be both good and turf and dirt, can literally do every distance, although even though you can make her run in longs, front runners really aren't going to be good in longs still, just because the end closers still have the ability, them and late surgers, to pass because it's such a long distance. We really won't see front runners really start actually being able to compete in long quite well until Kita-san Black, which is kind of your meta front runner for longs, but she can. You can use her for longs. I'm not saying she's not going to be able to compete in longs. Just know you're not going to be able to dominate on that meta level like we've seen with like maybe Gold Ship in the Gemini Cup. Now that core strategy, front runner. You're going to run her front runner and everything. One of the big things that makes her so good is her ult, and it is increased velocity with an enthusiastic let's go when positioned towards the front in second half of the race, recovering endurance skill. So what is this meaning is if she recovers, now I've said this wrong in the past, but what it means is if she ever uses a recovery skill at some point in the race, at the second half of the race, she's going to use her ultimate. So if you have Swinging Maestro that activates early in the race on like that first corner, like we'll probably see with Leo Cup, then as soon as you hit that second half of the race, she's going to pop her ult. If, for example, you don't activate any recovery skills up to the second half, as soon as she activates a recovery skill, her ult will go off. And that is where, like, if you have 777s, that can cause her to activate it at that point. What makes this very good is very similar to what we see with Smart Falcon right now with the Cancer Cup. You probably already versed quite a few Smart Falcons on the Cancer Cup. Smart Falcon gets in the front, and as soon as she touches first place, as soon as the mid leg starts, she uses her ult to push herself ahead and pretty much prevent anybody from passing, which is very good for her. Summer Maruzensky is kind of the opposite in that, yes, she'll be right behind Smart Falcon at the beginning of the race when Smart Falcon does her ult. But as soon as you get to the second half of the race, if she's used a recovery skill, she is now going to get a massive boost to speed. This is a lot like, you've already seen how Tail Held High can kind of carry you. This is even bigger than Tail Held High by quite a bit, and even can trigger. Like, you can trigger her ult alongside Tail Held High and get an even bigger speed boost. And this is going to be what's going to be give her the ability to pass that Smart Falcon. We already kind of see it a little bit with Bok Sheen's right now, although it's more of a gamble. Hers is effectively guaranteed if you can get that recovery off. Now, you do have to get a recovery off, but the nice thing is, she has recoveries built right into her. She has 777s, she has corner recovery, and Moxie. All you need is one of them to trigger, so even in those mile races, you can kind of think of it, while you don't really need stamina, you just take 1 or 2 of the whites, probably 2, because it's going to be safer. So if you fail the wit check, you at least have a backup recovery skill to get her ult. But as long as you take 2 of them, you're almost certainly going to guarantee it, and that is what is going to push her to the front, which then you still need Seiyun Sky's angling, as well as, depending on the race, having like Alcondor de Pasa's ult to give her the acceleration, but her ult basically effectively guarantees she's going to be in first place for the most part, unless, of course, you're going up against another Summer Maruzensky. She has a built-in gold recovery skill with Restless. It's going to be very, very useful, for example, for the next one, Mediums, where there's limited options. So she just comes right off the bat with Restless. You can pair that now with Swinging Maestro from Super Creek, and she's good to go. That's what's going to make her very easy to build for the Leo Cup coming up, as well as other mediums. She comes right off the bat with Speed Eater 2, which is really nice. Right now, all the options to get Speed Eater are in cards that we currently are using, but down the road, you're really not going to want to use, because you're going to more or less want to go with the Wit meta, which is going to be your Speed and Wit cards. And Speed Eater is, from what if I remember, is like mostly on power cards, which you kind of want to start to ditch. They've kind of worked in Cancer Cup, but you really want to stop using them, especially once we get into the second scenario. And so coming with that right off the bat is going to be really nice for the mile races. And then she also has Mile Maven as well. She's going to dominate the mile races, but her ult is good enough in like even mediums as well. So you have that. Now I have it on the Japanese version here, so you can kind of skip the evolve skills for now. We'll talk about them a little bit here. But then you have the other stuff that's built in. So let me actually switch it to global, so you don't see all that extra stuff there. So you have huge lead, and which is for sprints, and fast pace, which is really good for pretty much anything as a front runner. So overall, really, really good. And so it's really tied to her ult and the convenience of having the stuff in here. So she is going to dominate quite a bit for a while with it. Now, there is one big negative and one big power creep that happens to her, which it was a year out on the Japanese version, which so for us is probably going to be like 8 to 9 months. And that is the coming out of the Summer Maruzensky support card. So this is the big power creep that really makes her fall off when it comes to front runners. Now, we'll have other front runner Umas themselves that'll be very good, which we'll look at here in a second. But what makes her fall off to the point where you may not want to use her in the future is how good this support card is. Because as you know, you cannot use their own support card with them. And so you can't use this with her. And what this effectively is a very, very good speed card for your front runners. So the big part of it is in the unique effect, gain training effectiveness 5 for every level of current training facility. That is a very good flexibility. As you know, front runners want like every stat to be high. They want high wit, they want high power, they want high speed, and you're going to be leveling those facilities quite a bit because you're going to be hitting all of them depending on your cards. And so this can basically, once you get into level 5, especially like on the wit one, be the equivalent of a 25% training effectiveness for that. And then it's got all around good stuff as well as on everything else. We're not going to go through everything because there's a lot of other stuff I want to talk about too. But it's a very good support card on that end, as well as pretty much having everything you're going to want on your front runners in the skills. You have Playtime's Over, Slipstream, Leader's Pride, Front Runner Corners, Front Runner Straightaways, Groundwork, Focus, and then the big one, the Gold Top Runner, which is the gold equivalent of Leader's Pride. This is right now one of the harder ones to get, because especially if you're building Silent Suzuka, because there's not many places that you can currently get this, as you can see here, what cards on Twin Turbo and Silent Suzuka herself. Built into Smart Falcon, which is another reason Smart Falcon's really, really good. But overall, a great card. Now, when it comes to an actual Uma that'll come out in the future, and this is another reason you could skip, is because there's going to be another frontrunner Uma that is going to be better than her outright. You gotta think, this is summer. This was going to be Valentine's Day, so kind of what? This is going to be like 6 months maybe out from now, 5 to 6 months. We can't go based off the holidays because of the acceleration, but just know this is, yeah, like 6 to 8 months away from now that we're going to have Valentine's Mihono Bourbon. This is like the first Uma that's going to be like better than her overall. And that is because she is just built. She is got everything she needs to be a good frontrunner in her kit. And it gives you a lot of flexibility in your, not only your parents and grandparents, but also your support cards, because she pretty much has everything you need. So really good ult that you have during the middle leg corner. Detect another girl right behind you. Your speed will increase and stamina recovery. Think of it being similar to a Smart Falcon ult to a certain extent there. Then you got Focus, got Fast Paced, got Frontrunner Savvy, Escaped Artist. You know how good that is with Saiyan Sky currently. But the biggest thing is she comes pre-packaged with Groundwork. What you probably didn't hear me say when I was talking about Summer Maruzensky is she has no groundwork built in and no green skills built in. She's going to take a lot of work to build because you're going to need to not only get groundwork, but also 3 of the green skills built into her, as well as getting her stats really high. Frontrunners want that speed. They want that power. They want that high wit. Leo Cup, you're going to want that stamina. Very, very tough to build. She has groundwork built in. She has Frontrunner Savvy built in. She has a very good gold skill Escaped Artist built in. She has Concentration built in. She also has Wet Conditions and Speed Eater built in, just like that one. Everything you need is in Mihono Bourbon Valentine's. Now, she's not going to be a dirt Uma, of course. You can make Summer Maruzensky work on dirt while she's not going to, at least not very easily. But then you have like Smart Falcon also, who's going to be your dirt dominator. But, so she's kind of the big Uma power creep that a lot of people are going to use in that aspect. You then also have, in the future, Kita-san Black when it comes to long races. Kita-san Black's basically her ult and a lot of stuff tied in her kit. I don't want to go over everything, but she's going to be the one that can actually make Frontrunners kind of the meta for the future long races in that aspect. And then another kind of a bonus one for those who already have her. Someone that, in my opinion, power creeps her in the future, because she does get buffed, is going to be Silence Suzuka. And so she's actually one I will be using once she gets a lot of her stuff. And this is why I actually have it on the Japanese version, so you can kind of see what she comes with. So Silence Suzuka has everything she currently has, but in the future she gets in a new built-in skill called Great Escape. And so these are going to be very specific Umas. They're going to be Great Escape Umas, which it's kind of like adding a 5th running style. It's not a new running style, but it kind of like it is, because it changes the strategy to Great Escape, which is more effective than your front runner. So they're going to push even harder to be in the front, so much easier to establish themselves in the front. But that's not just what makes her great as well. You're having buffs to like Unrestrained as well, which will be good there. But the Evolve skills she eventually gets, which one of them's an involved Concentration, which is effectively like having Concentration and Groundwork built into it, because it's Concentration with Acceleration, just like Groundwork has. And then you have her other one here. So she's going to be very, very good as a front runner for Great Escape if you have her in the future for front runners. And so just know that in the future, she does kind of fall off. The biggest reason, like I said, is this support card. But you're going to have a lot of other options. Mihono Bourbon, Silent Suzuka. I mean, there's a ton of other front runners as well. We're not going to go through all of them. But that is kind of just looking at them overall. And those ones can all use this card that she cannot. And it is very, very good when it comes to this is... And this one's I have it at max dupes here. Summer Maruzensky is good at 1 dupe. I forgot to mention that. Because Mood Effect is the top item here. All you need is that 1 dupe to unlock the power 1. She also has speed bonus. Pretty much everything else you need in here. Taking it all the way to max doesn't really change much. A little bit more fans, race bonus, friendship. Like, it's not a big enough increase to want to dump a bunch of money on this one to max it out. So everybody, even free-to-plays, when they pull on this card, will be able to make it work if they can get up to 1 limit break. Which, if you actually look at the pull guide, is one of the few like big pulls in that time frame as well, which makes it even easier to save up and pull for it. Unless you're pulling for a lot of Umas, of course. But that's kind of looking at a lot of the negatives. I really wanted to touch on them because I don't want people to feel pressured to pull for her. She is going to be very good, and she is going to dominate, especially if someone's able to build her really quickly like I'm trying to do for the Cancer Cup. She's going to be very, very good there. Very good on the future miles. She's going to do well on the mediums, although I don't think she's going to dominate. She's going to do very good, but she's not going to be as dominant on mediums. And then she's going to be okay on longs. Like I said, longs, your end closers and late surgers are going to be able to blow by her like they already done when we've seen in Gemini Cup, because you just have such a long period of time for them to catch up and pass. But she'll still be good there. She just won't be as dominant. And so just know that she will be like that meta for like that 6 to 9 month period before you start having potential replacements or ones that can kind of compete with her. She's very hard to build, was another thing, as I already mentioned. Not only do you need the high stats, you need groundwork, you need the 3 greens. And so the main convenience really is just having a built-in heal for mediums and longs if you use her on longs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess you can add the last part. One of the big reasons I like her too, she's one of the ones that has the most fan service of all the Umas in terms of, as you know, with the other games I play. So if you like that, she's a really good Oshi pick for that. One of the reasons I like her as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just let me know if you're thinking of pulling for some Maruzensky, or you're one of those people that's going to be skipping for her, because as we already know, it's coming up. The Rico banner, the support card banner, is going to be like 3 weeks away, I believe. About 3. At the beginning of November is when she's going to drop. And so if you don't think you're going to have the 200 pulls for Rico, in my opinion, you skip her to make sure you can get at least that 200 pulls on Rico, so you can have a better time with the second scenario, especially for the free-to-plays. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. And if you like my content, if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.